Trolls 2 World Tour is a demonic work from the pits of hell. Okay, so maybe it's not that bad, but something is going on and we have to talk about it. In this video, I'm going to prove to you that Trolls 2 World Tour is actually all about the rising of the Antichrist and taking the mark of the beast. But before we get to that, welcome to the Gospel Mindset, the channel that focuses on embracing a biblical worldview in the midst of an unbiblical culture. My name is Josh, and we seriously need to talk about how this movie is literally about the Antichrist. If you're not familiar, the term Antichrist is used in different ways in the Bible. However, in this context, we're talking about the figure that rises up to deceive the nations in the book of Revelation during the Great Tribulation. You might be saying, okay, buddy, clearly you've watched Left Behind a few too many times. You're nuts. There's no way this movie is about the Antichrist. It's a kids movie. Nobody would even dare to add a bunch of Bible references to a kids movie these days anyway. Okay, we'll see about that. We're going to journey scene by scene to recap the movie, and then we're going to go back and decipher everything so that you will know that this movie is 100% about the end times. With that being said, spoiler alert. I'm sure that if you actually wanted to see this movie by now, you probably would have. But without further ado, let's start at the beginning. Or, shall I say, the genesis of it all. The movie begins with a short recap of the first movie told via scrapbooks by a fluffy cloud riding a cat. And if you didn't know, cats are actually demonic. So next we see a dark underwater sequence with a heart beating and the music begins. Everyone is having a fun time. The king of the techno trolls says that the night is all about family and fun. Then all of a sudden, a strange fish-like creature emerges from the depths and the music cuts. Out of the mouth of this fish emerges Barb, the queen of the hard rock trolls. Barb tells the Techno King that she wants to take away their string. However, the Techno King says to her that if they do that, they will lose their music. After the Hard Rock Trolls attack the Techno Trolls, the Techno King relents, saying that they're harshing the vibe they've worked so hard to create. To which Barb responds by saying, "Once I'm done with my world tour, we will have one vibe. We will be one nation under rock." Now, it's only 5 minutes into the movie. When I first watched this, I didn't think too much about it. Obviously, here in America, we have as part of our Pledge of Allegiance that we are one nation under God, but that's not what really got me down this rabbit hole. Just you wait. Now, if you've ever seen a Trolls movie, you know that the main lure is the musical nature of the series. They take popular music and do renditions of them to fit the storyline. So after the title sequence, we get a nice little happy-go-lucky song, a mashup that by and large communicates that these particular race of trolls are in the middle of a prosperous time for them. Queen Poppy of the Pop Trolls receives an invitation from Barb for the One Nation Under Rock World Tour. Poppy's dad starts freaking out, but ultimately tells everyone that there are in fact other kinds of trolls out there, but they're very different. Poppy's dad takes her to a more secluded location to talk about this in more detail. And this is where the biblical connection became very apparent. He pulls out a scroll that is extremely reminiscent of the Torah and says, "In the beginning, there was silence until someone made a sound." They are literally doing the Genesis story in Trolls 2. During this sequence, Poppy's dad explains that all the different kinds of trolls lived together in harmony until they started becoming intolerant of each other's music and ultimately had to go their separate ways. Each one took their string and left, and now they must guard over their string. Now, Poppy has the great idea of not listening to anything that anyone else has to say about the issue. She sends out a response letter to Barb via carrier bat thing and chooses to leave her people to go find Queen Barb and the other trolls because she thinks that all the trolls should be united. We cut to a shot of this beast of a machine coming out of the ocean with one main vehicle and 5 other little vehicles surrounding it. Barb is singing a rendition of Crazy Train that speaks to her plan to make everyone into one people. Up next, Poppy and Branch are flying in a balloon on their journey when they come across the ruins of another troll nation, Symphonyville. A survivor of the attack recounts the horrors that she witnessed to Poppy. When it finally dawns on Poppy that Barb and the rock trolls do not want to unite, but rather to destroy everything. Barb receives the letter from Poppy telling her that she wants to be friends and help make the biggest party ever. Barb becomes infuriated at the notion and solicits the help of 4 bounty hunting groups to track down and capture Poppy. In return for capturing Poppy, the bounty hunter that captures her will receive a small island where they'll be allowed to keep their own music. Poppy and the gang arrive in the land of the country music trolls. The song that they sing is a little bit eerie, and it's all about how life is pretty meaningless and how we're just born to die. This heart imagery keeps showing up as well throughout the movie. The country music trolls imprison the pop trolls, but they are quickly rescued by a mysterious character that whisks them away from danger. In the process, however, one of the characters, Mr. Dinkles, has a near-death experience where he sees God? Okay, come on now. This is the point in the movie where it was so undeniable to me that this whole movie is just a huge alliteration to the Bible, and specifically to the end times. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it. Now, from my studies, this imagery of God holding the scepter with a cross on top and wearing a crown is more than likely this image right here from Santa Maria de Artis Church in Spain. It depicts God in heaven, and the two images here bear a striking resemblance in my opinion. But just as Mr. Dinkles thinks he's about to receive his heavenly reward, he gets pulled right back. Rather disappointed over the matter.
Oh, Mr. Dinkles, you're alive. For a minute there, I thought you'd kick the bucket.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The group starts floating down the river, and Branch tells Poppy that he doesn't trust their new companion. The two start having some friction with each other when all of a sudden, the jazz bounty hunter shows up and tries to capture them. They go through a weird trance-like state until the mystery friend knocks the bounty hunter off their boat. Afterward, one of their crew becomes angry with Poppy because she didn't keep her promise to keep everyone safe, and he leaves the group. Just then, a UFO abducts the crew. Okay, I want to pause here because if you couldn't tell, this movie is absolutely all over the place. It kind of feels like you're moving at a breakneck speed and trying to piece together a couple different storylines all at once. There's a huge overarching theme that gets touched on all throughout, and we'll go ahead and dissect that at the end of the video. But for now, Poppy and the crew are taken by the funk trolls that tell them their version of how the world became corrupted. But just like every other troll nation, the funk trolls are also wiped out as Poppy and Branch are able to narrowly escape Barb's attack. Poppy and Branch get into a fight, Branch leaves, and the mystery friend catches up with Poppy. That's when we find out that, dun dun dun, the mystery friend is actually 2 bounty hunters in disguise. Queen Poppy is captured by Barb and her minions, who take the string away from Poppy, and they all head back to the rock troll land for the celebration. The next shot we see is a gate that leads to a fiery volcano where the rock trolls are going to play for their world tour. Here, all the other kings and queens of the trolls are being held along with all the other prisoners that were taken during this war. Barb goes up on stage and calls down lightning from the sky that places the rock guitar in her hands. She then uses the guitar to turn the other kings and queens into rock zombies. However, Poppy is able to outsmart Barb, take the guitar, and destroy it. After doing so, all music stops and the color fades from the trolls. It seems as though hope is lost for them, but then one by one, their hearts start to beat. They are able to sing again, and the color returns. The movie ends with everyone celebrating their differences and living in harmony. Now that we've gone over the general overview of the movie, you may have already made some connections to how this relates to the end times and the Antichrist, but let's go over it together. Let's take a step back and look at some of the imagery that we've seen throughout. As stated previously, during the sequence where Poppy's dad is explaining the story of the strings, he pulls out a scroll that looks exactly like a Jewish Torah, and he goes through the beginning. Just like the opening of the Bible, where it says, "In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth." And then God proceeds to create light and life with his words. Poppy's dad explains that the people used to live in harmony, but they started becoming intolerant of each other and they took the strings and separated, now living in isolation. This right here is the Tower of Babel event. They, already being one nation, one people, were separated much like how the people in Genesis were one people with one language until God confused their language so they could no longer understand each other, and they went their separate ways as well. The strings themselves represent not just the music per se, but rather where the music comes from. Music in this movie is representative of the very soul of the individual. In fact, the general messaging is affirmed by one of the funk trolls. The strings represent the national identity of the people, and it has become an idol to them. The hearts that I mentioned earlier in the breakdown represent life itself. So we have the Genesis story telling us how the trolls came to be and how they were dispersed with their idolatrous national identity, feeding their souls so that they may sing. Then we get to Barb and the Beast. The beast that comes up out of the water, we get an almost perfect glimpse of in Revelation chapter 13, which says, "And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads. On its horns were 10 crowns, and on its heads were blasphemous names. The beast I saw was like a leopard, its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. The dragon gave the beast his power, his throne, and great authority. One of its heads appeared to be fatally wounded, but its fatal wound was healed. The whole earth was amazed and followed the beast. They worshipped the dragon because he gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, 'Who is like the beast? Who is able to wage war against it?' The beast was given a mouth to utter boasts and blasphemies. It was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It began to speak blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling, those who dwell in heaven. And it was permitted to wage war against the saints and to conquer them. It was also given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All those who live on the earth will worship it, everyone whose name was not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slaughtered." Okay, so although this beast I'm referring to is not exactly like the beast mentioned in the text, there are some similarities that confirm that this is the case. If we take the physical description of the beast in Revelation, it's not exactly the same, but there is one main body rising up from the ocean with 5 smaller bodies surrounding it, each one having its own mouth and feet. They're certainly hairy like a leopard, even if they don't quite look like them. They do have horns as well, and the main beast has words on it which say Rock World Tour. This beast is able to wage war against the saints, the innocent people, like our good friend Mr. Dinkles, and everywhere it goes, it leaves behind boasts and blasphemies like rock, all over the charred ruins of the lands conquered. The 10 horns mentioned here in Revelation is later explained as 10 kings who do not yet have a kingdom. This is most certainly the bounty hunters that we see later on. There are actually 11 of them in total, though one seems very resistant to following through with these plans. Each of these trolls have taken up this task so that they could save their music and receive a small island to rule over. Kings awaiting a kingdom that will rule with the beast for 1 hour. Barb embodies another biblical figure known as the false prophet. It says in Revelation chapter 13, 11 through 14, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and compels the earth and those who live on it to worship the first beast whose fatal wound was healed. It also performs great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in front of the people. It deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs that it is permitted to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who live on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. It was permitted to give breath to the image of the beast so that the image of the beast could both speak and cause whoever would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. And it makes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, the beast's name, or number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, because it is the number of a person. Its number is 666. Now, the reason why Barb is the false prophet here is because she's the one who does the majority of the work in actually converting everyone into rock trolls, or rather receiving the mark of the beast. Barb calls down lightning from the heavens, and she makes people accept this mark of the beast. So that way, all could be one nation under rock, every tribe, tongue, and language under the authority of rock. Hey there, sidebar real quick. In about 2 weeks from the time of recording this video, I'm about to become your unemployed friend on a Tuesday, which is exactly what I sound like in this video. But to make sure that doesn't actually happen, here's what I need from you. If you could please pray for me. Pray that God would open the door to me to provide for my family. I would be so thankful if you did that. Also, If you could please subscribe to this channel, it would mean so much to me. It would be so cool to make this passion that I have into a full-time job. Okay, back to the video. Now, there's one more character that I didn't mention in my breakdown, and that's Barb's dad. You see, her father shows up a few times in the movie, and he seems like he's a harmless character. He's not really that big of a deal. Just some senile old man who rolls around in his chair. However, when I was looking through various Trolls Fanpedia pages, I noticed something that I hadn't before. It said that the whole rock world tour was actually his idea. Furthermore, the character is inspired and voiced by none other than Ozzy Osbourne, whose probably most famous nickname is the Prince of Darkness.
I'm Ozzy Osbourne, and I'm the Prince of Darkness.
The Lich King is the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy.
Well, maybe you're the one who's been riding a crazy train, but I've been the Prince of Darkness since 1979.
Barb's father is Satan himself. So there we have the beast and the false prophet receiving their authority from the dragon, or rather, Satan, the unholy trinity. Satan, the beast, and the false prophet waging war against the saints and uttering boasts and blasphemies against God and his dwelling by decimating all the other nations and leaving their mark all over the land, forcing the nations to take the mark of the beast. That is, until the strings are broken. This world has faded. Now, I said that the strings represent a national identity, but this event of Poppy smashing the guitar is meant to mirror the end of the world. Now there's new life. The people sing a new song, the fire turns into rainbows, and the people live in harmony. The end of Revelation speaks to how after the Lord Jesus returns, he will destroy the armies of Satan and throw them into hell along with the false prophet and the beast. Afterward, God brings heaven down to earth, and the faithful live with God there forever. This can all be summed up and captured in a nice little post-credit scene with Mr. Dinkles riding a cloud with his creator. Now, being that this is a kids movie, God doesn't come down and throw Satan and the false prophet and the beast into the flame for all eternity, though that would be kind of cool to see. But rest assured, the ending of this movie is still meant to represent the New Jerusalem as spoken of in Revelation. Alright, that just about does it for this breakdown of how Trolls 2 is undeniably about the rising of the Antichrist and the end of the world, and the new heaven and the new earth. There was some stuff that really bothered me about this movie. There's a scene where a man troll gives birth to a baby, and there's some critical race theory stuff that gets shoehorned in there too. I actually would not recommend that your kids watch this movie pretty much at all, but it is definitely interesting to see just how much influence this movie took from the Bible, because it is a lot. That is all that I have for you today. Go ahead and subscribe so that you can see every single video from this nerdy theologian. Leave a like, comment, and hey, go ahead and share this video with someone you know so that you can help spread the gospel mindset. Good kitty.
Oh, he's so sweet.